I wish I was dead. Daniel froze 3 feet from the table. The woman hadn't seen him yet. She was gripping a steak knife, knuckles, white tears streaming down her face. I wish I was dead, she whispered again. Then someone might actually miss me. She lifted her head, and Daniel's world collapsed. He knew this face. He'd seen it every day for 4 years. On newsletters, on portraits, on the wall of the building where he worked for barely enough to feed his daughter. His CEO. The most powerful woman he'd ever met. Holding a knife and wishing she was dead. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Let's see how far this story reaches. I wish I was dead. The words hit Daniel like a bullet. He'd walked into this restaurant expecting nothing. A blind date his sister forced him into. An hour of awkward small talk before he could go home to his daughter and forget this ever happened. He didn't expect this. The woman at the corner table was gripping a steak knife, not cutting anything, just holding it, squeezing it. Her knuckles were bone white. Tears ran down her face in black rivers of mascara. I wish I was dead, she whispered again. Then maybe someone would actually notice I'm gone. Daniel's feet moved before his brain caught up. Hey. He kept his voice soft, calm, the way he talked to Emma when she woke up from nightmares. Hey, look at me. The woman's head snapped up. Daniel stopped breathing. Victoria Chen, CEO of Morrison & Associates. The woman whose signature was on his paycheck. The woman who sat 40 floors above him in a corner office worth more than his apartment. The woman who'd never once looked at him in 4 years of working at her company. She was crying, really crying, the kind of crying that came from somewhere broken. Who are you? Victoria's voice cracked. What do you want? I'm your blind date. Daniel pulled out the chair across from her. And I'm not leaving until you put down that knife. Victoria looked down at her hand like she'd forgotten she was holding anything. She laughed a horrible hollow sound. I wasn't going to do anything. She set the knife down. I needed to hold something. Something sharp. Something real. Why? Because everything else in my life is fake. Victoria wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing mascara across her cheek. My friends, my relationships, my whole goddamn existence, all of it. Fake. Daniel sat down. Every instinct screamed at him to leave. This woman was his boss, his CEO. She could destroy his career with a single phone call. Getting involved in whatever this was could cost him everything. But he'd seen that look before. In the mirror. Every morning for 3 years. What's your name? Victoria asked. My assistant just said Daniel. Daniel Morrison. Morrison. She let out another hollow laugh. Like the company. No relation. I didn't think so. Victoria grabbed her napkin and pressed it to her eyes. God, this is humiliating. You must think I'm insane. I think you're in pain. Victoria went still. What did you say? I said I think you're in pain. Daniel leaned forward. And I think you've been in pain for a long time. And I think you're surrounded by people who either don't notice or don't care. Victoria stared at him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. How would you know that? She finally asked. Because I've been there. You? Victoria's eyes swept over him, his cheap suit, his scuffed shoes, his 3-year-old tie. What could you possibly know about? My wife died 3 years ago. Victoria's mouth closed. Brain aneurysm. Daniel continued. She was 38, healthy, happy. We'd just put our daughter to bed the night before. Sarah was singing to her this stupid made-up song about dolphins, and Emma was giggling, and I thought that was my life. I thought that was forever. He paused. The next morning, Sarah didn't wake up. Victoria's hand moved across the table. She stopped herself before she touched him. Daniel, I'm so sorry. I know what it feels like to want to disappear, to hold something sharp, just to feel something real. Daniel held her gaze. So whatever you're going through, I'm not going to judge you. And I'm not going to leave. Victoria's composure cracked. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Why? Her voice was barely a whisper. You don't even know me. No, but I know that look in your eyes. And I know nobody should have to feel that alone. The waiter appeared at their table. Are you folks ready to? Give us a minute, Daniel said without looking away from Victoria. The waiter retreated. Victoria wiped her eyes again. Her hands were shaking. This is insane, she said. You work for me. I'm your CEO. We can't, this is completely inappropriate. Probably. I could fire you. You could. Doesn't that scare you? Daniel thought about it. Really thought about it. 3 years ago, I lost the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered, he said slowly. Since then, I've been working 70-hour weeks at a job where nobody knows my name. I buy my daughter clothes that are too small because I can't afford new ones. I miss her school plays for meetings that don't matter. I haven't laughed, really laughed, in longer than I can remember. He leaned back in his chair. So no, getting fired doesn't scare me. What scares me is spending the rest of my life feeling as empty as I do right now. Victoria was quiet for a long time. You're different, she finally said. Different how? Everyone who meets me wants something. Money, connections, a favor, a job. She shook her head. But you saw me having a breakdown and you sat down anyway. Why? Because my wife would have done the same thing. Something flickered across Victoria's face. Pain, recognition, longing. Tell me about her, Victoria said softly. Your wife. What was she like? Daniel closed his eyes. He hadn't talked about Sarah to anyone except Rebecca. The wound was still too raw, too deep. But something about this moment, about this woman, made him want to try. She was the brave one, he said. She walked up to me at a college party and said, You look like you need someone to talk to. Tell me your secrets. I was in love with her by the end of that conversation. That's beautiful. She made everything beautiful. Even the hard stuff. Even when we were broke and scared and didn't know how we'd pay rent, she'd find something to laugh about. Daniel opened his eyes. She used to say, Danny, stop overthinking. Just jump. The net will appear. Did the net ever appear? Every time. Until the one time it didn't. Victoria reached across the table. This time she didn't stop herself. Her fingers wrapped around his. I've never had that, she said. What you had with Sarah. I've never had anyone who saw me, really saw me. Not the title, not the money, just me. Never? Victoria shook her head. I built this company from nothing. 20 years of my life. 100-hour weeks. No vacations. No relationships that lasted longer than a few months. Her grip on his hand tightened. And now I have everything I was supposed to want. Corner office, magazine covers, more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. She paused. And I've never been more alone. Daniel squeezed her hand back. What happened tonight? He asked. Before I got here. What made you pick up a knife and wish I was dead? Victoria laughed bitterly. Nothing happened. That's the problem. Nothing ever happens. I go to work, I sit in meetings, I sign papers, I go home to an empty apartment, I eat dinner alone, I go to sleep alone, I wake up alone. Her voice cracked. And tonight, I was sitting here waiting for some blind date my assistant set up, and I realized even if this person showed up, even if we hit it off, it wouldn't matter. Because eventually they'd find out who I am, and then they'd want something from me, and I'd be alone again. So you picked up the knife. So I picked up the knife. Victoria wiped her eyes. Pathetic, right? 42 years old, worth $100 million, and I'm having a breakdown in a restaurant because I'm lonely. It's not pathetic. It feels pathetic. Victoria. Daniel leaned closer. I spent the first year after Sarah died sleeping on the floor of our closet because it still smelled like her. I used to call her voicemail just to hear her voice. I didn't shower for weeks at a time. My sister had to force me to eat. Victoria stared at him. That's not pathetic, Daniel said. That's grief. That's pain. That's being human. But you had something to grieve. You lost someone who loved you. Victoria pulled her hand back. I'm grieving something I never even had. That doesn't make it hurt any less. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. The restaurant buzzed around them. Couples laughing, glasses clinking, waiters bustling, but it all felt far away, like they were in their own bubble, their own world. I looked you up, Victoria said suddenly. What? She pulled out her phone. While you were talking, I looked you up in our system. Daniel Morrison, Marketing Department, 4th floor. Daniel's stomach dropped. And you submitted a proposal 3 months ago, client outreach restructuring. Victoria's eyes met his. Your manager marked it low priority. It never reached the executive team. I know. Richard told me it wasn't worth pursuing. Richard is a liar. Daniel blinked. Excuse me. Your proposal is brilliant. I just skimmed it, and I can already see this could increase client retention by 15, maybe 20%. Victoria's voice hardened. Richard buried it because it would have made you look good. And if you looked good, he'd look replaceable. That's insane. That's corporate politics. Victoria set down her phone. How long have you been at my company? 4 years. 4 years. She shook her head. And I never knew your name. I never saw your work. I never had any idea that someone like you was drowning 40 floors below me. Someone like me? Someone real. Someone who shows up and works hard and goes home to a daughter he's trying to raise alone. Victoria's eyes glistened. Someone invisible. The word hit Daniel in the chest. I'm going to fix this, Victoria said. Richard is gone, tomorrow morning. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She cut him off. I built this company to mean something. To treat people like human beings. Somewhere along the way I lost sight of that. People like you paid the price. I don't want special treatment. This isn't special treatment. This is me finally doing my job. Victoria leaned forward. I'm promoting you. Director of Marketing Strategy. You'll report directly to me. Daniel's head spun. That's a 3-level jump. Your work deserves it. People will talk. They'll say I slept my way to the top. Let them talk. Victoria. Daniel grabbed her hand again. I'm serious. If you do this, if we do whatever this is, people will find out. They'll say things. It could hurt you. Victoria smiled. A real smile. The first one he'd seen all night. Daniel, I've spent 20 years worrying about what people say. And you know what I've learned? They're going to talk no matter what you do. So you might as well give them something worth talking about. The waiter returned. This time, they ordered. Neither really looked at the menu. It didn't matter. Can I ask you something? Victoria said after the waiter left. Anything. Your daughter, Emma. Victoria hesitated. What's she like? Daniel's whole body changed. The tension left his shoulders. The hardness around his eyes melted. She's everything, he said. 8 years old and already smarter than me. She wants to be a marine biologist 1 week, an astronaut the next. She plays soccer and she's terrible at it, but she loves it anyway. She sounds wonderful. She is. She's got Sarah's eyes, Sarah's laugh. Sometimes I look at her and it hurts so much I can't breathe. Because you miss your wife. Because I see everything Sarah's going to miss. First day of high school, first boyfriend, graduation, wedding. Daniel's voice cracked. Sarah should be there for all of it, and instead Emma's stuck with me. She's not stuck with you. She's lucky to have you. I don't feel lucky. I feel like I'm failing her every single day. Victoria was quiet for a moment. "I'd like to meet her," she said. Daniel looked up sharply. "What?" "Emma, I'd like to meet her, if that's okay with you." "Victoria, this is a first date. We don't even know if—" "I know." Victoria held up her hand. "I'm not trying to rush anything. I just—" She trailed off. "I've never met anyone like you, Daniel. You're real in a way that nobody in my life is real, and I don't want to lose that." "You won't. You don't know that. Neither do you." Daniel smiled slightly. "My wife used to say, stop overthinking, just jump." "Did you listen to her?" "Not usually. I was always the careful one. She was the brave one." "And now?" Daniel thought about it. About Emma. About his empty apartment. About 3 years of feeling nothing but grief and exhaustion. Then he thought about Victoria. About her tears. About the knife. About the raw, broken honesty she'd shown him tonight. "Now," he said slowly, "I think maybe it's time to be brave." Victoria's smile widened. Their food arrived. They ate slowly, talking about everything and nothing. The restaurant emptied around them. The candle on their table burned low. "I should go," Daniel said finally. "Emma's with my sister, but—" "Of course." Victoria stood when he did. "Saturday. There's a park near my apartment. We could walk, talk, no pressure. I have Emma on Saturdays. Bring her." Victoria didn't hesitate. "I meant what I said. I want to meet her." Daniel studied her face, looking for any sign that she was just being polite, any hint that this was all an act. He found nothing but sincerity. "Okay," he said. "Saturday. The park." They walked out together. The night air was cold. Daniel turned to say goodbye, but Victoria stepped closer. "Thank you," she whispered, "for sitting down, for staying." "Thank you for being honest." "I'm never honest, not like that, not with anyone." Victoria laughed softly. "I don't know what it is about you. Maybe you just needed someone to ask if you were okay. Maybe I did." She hugged him. Not a polite hug, a real one. Daniel felt her trembling against him. "I haven't hugged anyone in months," Victoria murmured into his shoulder. "Isn't that sad? The CEO of a $100 million company, and I can't remember the last time someone touched me." "It's not sad. It's honest. Same thing sometimes." She pulled back. Her eyes were wet again. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night, Victoria." He watched her walk to her car, a black Mercedes, worth more than he made in 5 years. She got in, waved once, and drove away. Daniel stood in the parking lot for a long time. His phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Well, how was it?" He started to type a response, stopped, started again. Finally, he just wrote, "Strange? Good. I'll tell you tomorrow." His phone buzzed again. A different number this time. Unknown. Daniel frowned and opened the message. His blood went cold. "I saw you with Victoria Chen tonight. Interesting choice for a date. Does HR know about this? Does the board? I wonder what they'd think if they found out their CEO was crying in a restaurant with a nobody from the 4th floor." Daniel stared at the screen. Another message came through. "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone. Yet. But you should know I'm watching. And when the time is right, everyone will know exactly what kind of woman Victoria Chen really is." The messages stopped. Daniel stood in the empty parking lot, phone in hand, heart pounding. Someone had been watching them. Someone who knew exactly who he was. Someone who wanted to use tonight against Victoria. He thought about calling her, warning her. But what would he say? "Someone saw us. We might be in danger." They'd known each other for 3 hours. This wasn't his problem. Wasn't his fight. Except it was. Because somewhere in that restaurant, between her tears and his confessions, Something had changed. Victoria wasn't just his CEO anymore. She was something else, something he couldn't name yet. And someone was trying to destroy her. Daniel got in his car and drove home. Emma was asleep on Rebecca's couch. He carried her to the car, buckled her in, drove through empty streets. But his mind wasn't on the road. It was on the phone in his pocket. On the messages. On the threat. He thought about the steak knife in Victoria's hand. About the words she'd whispered before she knew he was there. I wish I was dead. Someone had been watching. Someone who wanted to hurt her. And Daniel had to decide walk away and protect himself or stand with a woman he barely knew against an enemy he couldn't see. Emma stirred in the back seat. "Daddy," she mumbled. "Are you okay?" Daniel looked at her in the rearview mirror. Sarah's eyes, Sarah's face. "Yeah, baby," he said quietly. "I'm okay." But he wasn't, because tomorrow everything was going to change. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling phone clutched in his hand, reading those messages over and over until the words burned into his brain. I'm watching. Everyone will know. Who had sent them Richard? Someone else from the office. A stranger who happened to be at the restaurant. It didn't matter. What mattered was that someone wanted to hurt Victoria. And Daniel had no idea what to do about it. At 6 a.m, he gave up on sleep and went to make coffee. Emma was still asleep. Her door cracked open, her nightlight casting a soft glow across her face. Daniel stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her breathe. Sarah used to do this, stand in the doorway and watch Emma sleep. "She's so perfect," Sarah would whisper. "How did we make something so perfect?" Now Sarah was gone, and Daniel was alone, and somewhere out there, someone was trying to destroy the first person who'd made him feel alive in 3 years. His phone buzzed. Daniel's heart stopped. He pulled it out, expecting another threat. It was Victoria. "I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about last night, about everything you said. Thank you for staying. Thank you for seeing me. V." Daniel stared at the message. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard. He should tell her about the threats. Should warn her. Should Daddy? Daniel spun around. Emma stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes, her hair a tangled mess. "Hey, Munchkin, what are you doing up?" "I heard you walking around." Emma padded toward him. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, just couldn't sleep." "Because of the date." Daniel hesitated. "How do you know about that?" "Aunt Becca told me." Emma climbed onto a kitchen stool. "She said you went on a date with a lady. Did you like her?" Daniel thought about Victoria, about her tears, about the knife, about the way she'd held his hand like he was the only real thing in her world. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I liked her." Emma's face lit up. "Really? What's she like?" "She's complicated." "Good complicated or bad complicated?" "I don't know yet." Emma considered this seriously. "Mommy was complicated. You always said that." Daniel's throat tightened. "Yeah, Mommy was complicated. But you loved her anyway." "More than anything." Emma nodded like this made perfect sense. "Then maybe you can love this lady too, even if she's complicated." Daniel stared at his 8-year-old daughter. Sometimes she was so much like Sarah, it took his breath away. "Maybe," he said. "We'll see." "Can I meet her?" "Actually, she wants to meet you too. Saturday, at the park." Emma's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really, if that's okay with you?" "That's so okay." Emma bounced on her stool. "I'm going to wear my dolphin shirt. Does she like dolphins? I hope she likes dolphins." Daniel laughed. A real laugh. The kind he hadn't felt in months. "I don't know if she likes dolphins. You'll have to ask her." I will. Emma grinned. This is going to be the best Saturday ever. Daniel pulled her into a hug, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. I love you, Munchkin. I love you too, Daddy. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Victoria. I'm going into the office early. Richard won't know what hit him. Wish me luck. Daniel typed back. Be careful. 3 dots appeared. Then, I'm always careful. That's the problem. Today, I'm going to be brave. Like you said. Daniel stared at the message. He should tell her. Should warn her about the threats. Should. But what if she pulled back? What if she decided he wasn't worth the risk? What if she disappeared from his life as quickly as she'd entered it? He couldn't lose this, whatever this was. He couldn't lose her, so he typed, Good luck, you've got this. And he said nothing about the messages. The morning passed slowly. Daniel got Emma ready for school, packed her lunch, walked her to the bus stop. She talked the whole way about Victoria, about the park, about dolphins and marine biologists, and whether Victoria would think her dolphin shirt was cool. What if she doesn't like me? Emma asked suddenly, her voice small. Daniel knelt down to her level. Hey, look at me. Emma's eyes met his, Sarah's eyes. There is nothing about you not to like, Daniel said firmly. You're smart and funny and kind. And if Victoria doesn't see that, then she's not worth our time. Okay. Emma nodded slowly. Okay. But I think she'll like you. I think she'll like you a lot. The bus pulled up. Emma hugged him tight, then ran up the steps without looking back. Daniel watched until the bus disappeared around the corner. Then he drove to work. The office felt different today, sharper, more dangerous. Daniel walked through the lobby past the security desk into the elevator. Every face seemed suspicious. Every glance felt like a threat. Who had sent those messages? Who was watching? He got off on the 4th floor and walked to his desk. Everything looked normal. His computer, his chair, his sad little potted plant that Sarah had given him years ago, but nothing felt normal. Morrison. Daniel turned. Richard Hayes was striding toward him, face red veins bulging in his neck. My office, now. Daniel followed him, heart pounding. Richard's office was at the end of the hall, a corner space with glass walls that let everyone see inside. Richard slammed the door behind them. What the hell did you do? Daniel kept his voice steady. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb with me. Richard jabbed a finger at him. I got a call this morning, from HR, from the CEO's assistant. They want all my files, every project, every proposal, every email from the last 3 years. Daniel's stomach dropped. Victoria. She was moving fast. That sounds like a you problem, Daniel said. Richard's face went purple. This is about that proposal, isn't it, the client outreach thing? You went over my head. I didn't go over anyone's head. Then how does the CEO know about it? How does she know your name? Richard stepped closer. What did you do? Morrison. Daniel held his ground. Maybe she actually reads the work her employees submit. Maybe she noticed that good ideas were being buried. By who? You tell me. Richard's eye twitched. You think you're smart. You think going to the CEO is going to save your career. I've been at this company for 15 years. I have relationships, connections. You're a nobody. A single dad who can barely afford to keep the lights on. Daniel's hands curled into fists. You think I don't know about you, Richard continued. You think I don't know you're drowning. You're one paycheck away from disaster. And when this little stunt blows up in your face, and it will, you'll be out on the street. You and that kid of yours. Daniel moved before he could stop himself. He grabbed Richard's tie and yanked him forward. Don't you ever, Daniel said quietly, mention my daughter again. Richard's eyes went wide with fear. Let go of me. Say you understand. Morrison. Say it. I understand. Richard pulled back, straightening his tie with shaking hands. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Maybe. Daniel stepped back. But at least I'm not a coward who buries other people's work to protect his own job. Richard's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Get out of my office. Daniel left. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. He'd never done anything like that before. Never confronted anyone. Never stood up for himself. But something had changed last night. Something in that restaurant. In Victoria's tears. In her honesty. He was done being invisible. 2 hours later, the email came. All employees of marketing department, please report to conference room B for an urgent announcement. Daniel walked to the conference room with everyone else. The space was packed. 30 people crammed into a room meant for 20. Everyone was whispering, speculating. Then Victoria walked in. She looked different today. Not the crying woman from the restaurant. Not the vulnerable person who'd gripped his hand and confessed her loneliness. This was the CEO. Sharp black suit, hair pulled back, eyes like steel. Thank you all for coming, Victoria said. Her voice carried without effort. I'll keep this brief. As of this morning, Richard Hayes is no longer with the company. Gasps. Whispers. Someone dropped a coffee cup. Mr. Hayes was terminated for cause. For the past 3 years, he has systematically buried proposals and projects from members of his team. He has taken credit for work that wasn't his. He has created a culture of fear and suppression that has cost this company millions in lost innovation. Victoria paused. Her eyes swept the room. That ends today. Daniel couldn't breathe. He watched her command the room. Watched her transform from the broken woman he'd met last night into something fierce and powerful, and he felt something shift in his chest. Additionally, Victoria continued, I am announcing a restructuring of the marketing department. Effective immediately, Daniel Morrison will assume the role of Director of Marketing Strategy. Every head in the room turned to look at him. Daniel's face burned. He could feel the stares, the questions, the suspicion. Mr. Morrison submitted a proposal 3 months ago that could increase our client retention by 20%, Victoria said. It was buried. That proposal will now be implemented under his leadership. She looked directly at him. Mr. Morrison, please see me in my office after this meeting to discuss your new responsibilities. Then she turned and walked out. The room exploded into whispers. Who is that guy? I've never even heard of him. Director. He was a junior analyst yesterday. What do you think he did to get that promotion? Daniel heard it all. Every word, every insinuation, every poisonous little whisper. But he didn't care, because Victoria had looked at him, really looked at him, in front of everyone, and for the first time in 4 years, he wasn't invisible. Victoria's office was on the 40th floor. Daniel had never been above the 10th. The elevator ride felt endless. Each floor that passed ratcheted up his anxiety. By the time the doors opened, his palms were sweating. Victoria's assistant, a severe-looking woman named Margaret, was waiting. Mr. Morrison, she's expecting you. Daniel walked into the office. Victoria stood by the window looking out at the city. She didn't turn around when he entered. Close the door. Daniel closed it. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, grew heavy. Then Victoria turned around. I fired 3 people this morning, Richard and 2 others, all of them guilty of the same thing. I heard. The board is furious. They think I've lost my mind. Victoria walked toward him slowly. They might be right. Why did you do it? Because you showed me something last night. Victoria stopped a few feet away. You showed me that I've been so focused on the big picture that I forgot about the people inside it. The real people. The ones who come to work every day and give everything they have and get nothing in return. Victoria, I'm not finished. She held up her hand. I promoted you because you deserve it, because your work is brilliant, because you should have been recognized years ago. But I need you to understand something. What? People are going to talk. They're going to say you got this job because of me, because of last night, because of whatever they imagine happened between us. Daniel thought about the anonymous messages, the threats, the eyes that might be watching even now. I know. And you're okay with that? No. Daniel stepped closer. But I'm not okay with being invisible either. I'm not okay with watching my daughter grow up while I miss every important moment. I'm not okay with drowning in a job that doesn't see me. He paused. You gave me a chance. A real chance. And I'm going to prove I deserve it. Not because of you. Because of me. Victoria's expression softened. Just slightly. Just enough. Saturday, she said quietly. The park. You're still coming. With Emma. Good. Victoria smiled. A real smile. I've been thinking about dolphins all morning. Daniel laughed. She's obsessed. Fair warning. I'll study up. They stood there for a moment, neither moving, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between them. I should go, Daniel finally said, before people start talking more than they already are. Let them talk. You said that last night. I meant it then too. Victoria walked back to her desk. Your new office is on the 35th floor. Margaret will show you. Your first department meeting is tomorrow at 9. Okay? Daniel. Victoria's voice stopped him at the door. Thank you for last night, for sitting down, for not leaving. Thank you for being honest. I'm never honest. You know that. Maybe that's changing. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Maybe it is. Daniel left her office and walked to the elevator. His head was spinning. His life had changed completely in the span of 12 hours. New job, new title, new salary, and something else. Something he couldn't name yet. Something that felt like the beginning of something terrifying and wonderful. The elevator doors opened. Daniel stepped inside. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Nice promotion. Too bad it won't last. I have pictures from last night. You, her, the restaurant, everything. By Monday, the whole world will know what kind of CEO Victoria Chen really is. And you'll be nothing again. Worse than nothing. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He stood in the elevator frozen as the doors closed and the car began to descend. Pictures. Someone had pictures. This wasn't a random threat. This was real, organized, planned. Someone wanted to destroy Victoria, and they were going to use him to do it. The elevator reached the lobby. Daniel walked out in a daze. He needed to think. Needed to figure out who was behind this. Needed to warn Victoria. But if he warned her, she might push him away. Might decide he was too dangerous. Might disappear from his life forever. And if he didn't warn her, whoever was behind this would destroy them both. Daniel sat down on a bench outside the building. The city buzzed around him. People walking, cars honking, life moving forward like nothing was wrong. He pulled up Victoria's contact, stared at it. His thumb hovered over the call button. Daddy! Daniel looked up. Emma was running toward him, backpack bouncing. Rebecca jogging to keep up. Munchkin. What are you doing here? School got out early. Teacher conference. Emma threw herself into his arms. Aunt Becca said we could surprise you. Rebecca caught up, breathing hard. Sorry, she insisted. Daniel held Emma tight. His phone still clutched in his other hand. Daddy, are you okay? Daniel looked at his daughter, at her bright eyes, at her innocent smile, at everything he was trying to protect. Yeah, baby, he said quietly. I'm okay. But he wasn't, because somewhere out there, someone was watching, waiting, planning, and Daniel had no idea how to stop them. Saturday came faster than Daniel expected. He spent the days between trying to focus on his new job, learning the systems, meeting his new team, pretending everything was normal when nothing was normal. The threatening messages had stopped. No new ones since that day in the lobby, but the silence was almost worse than the threats. It meant whoever was behind this was planning, waiting for the right moment to strike. Daniel still hadn't told Victoria. Every time he picked up his phone to call her, he froze. What would he say? Someone's trying to destroy you, and it's probably my fault for sitting down at your table. No. He needed more information first. Needed to figure out who was behind this. Then he could protect her properly. Emma bounced beside him as they walked through the park. Is she here yet? Can you see her? What does she look like? Calm down, Munchkin. She said she'd be by the pond. The duck pond. I love the duck pond. They rounded a corner, and Daniel saw her. Victoria sat on a bench near the water wearing jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup, hair down. She looked younger, more relaxed, more real. She stood when she saw them, and Daniel caught the nervousness in her eyes, the uncertainty. She was scared, he realized. Scared of meeting Emma. Scared of not being good enough. It made him like her even more. Hi, Victoria said softly. Hi, Daniel replied. Emma tugged at his hand. Daddy, introduce me. Right, sorry. Daniel cleared his throat. Victoria, this is Emma. Emma, this is Victoria. Emma looked up at Victoria with open curiosity. Do you like dolphins? Victoria blinked. Then she laughed a real surprised laugh. I love dolphins. They're one of my favorite animals. Emma's face broke into a huge smile. Dad, I like her. Victoria knelt down to Emma's level. I like your shirt, she said. Is that a bottlenose dolphin? Yes. How did you know? I did some research. Dolphins are fascinating creatures. Did you know they can recognize themselves in mirrors? Emma's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Only a few animals can do that. Dolphins, elephants, great apes. Victoria smiled. It means they're self-aware. They know who they are. That's so cool. Emma grabbed Victoria's hand. Come on, I want to show you the ducks. She dragged Victoria toward the pond before either adult could react. Daniel followed, watching them together. Watching Victoria ask Emma questions about school, about soccer, about her dreams of being a marine biologist. Watching her listen. Really listen, like everything Emma said was the most important thing in the world. At one point, Emma ran ahead to throw bread to the ducks, and Victoria moved closer to Daniel. She's incredible, Victoria said softly. She is. You've done an amazing job with her, raising her alone, being there for her. I don't feel like I've done anything amazing. I feel like I'm barely holding on. Victoria turned to look at him. That's what amazing looks like sometimes. Barely holding on, but holding on anyway. Daniel met her eyes. Something passed between them. Something heavy with meaning. Victoria, I need to tell you something. What is it? Daniel opened his mouth. The words were right there. The threats, the messages, the danger. Dad, Victoria, come look. Emma was waving frantically from the edge of the pond. The moment shattered. Coming, sweetheart, Daniel called. He looked back at Victoria. Later, I'll tell you later. Okay. They walked to Emma together. She'd found a duck with ducklings, and she was narrating their every movement like a nature documentary. And the mother duck leads her babies across the pond searching for food. Victoria laughed. Daniel laughed. For a few perfect hours, they were just three people enjoying the sunshine. But in the back of Daniel's mind, the threats waited. And somewhere out there, someone was watching. Planning. Getting ready to tear it all apart. The story broke on Tuesday morning. Daniel was in his new office reviewing proposals when his phone started buzzing. One notification. Then 10. Then 100. He opened his browser and felt his world collapse. Scandal at Morrison & Associates CEO. Promotes secret lover fires veteran manager. The article was everywhere. Every news site, every business blog, every social media platform. Someone had leaked everything: the restaurant, the promotion, the firings. And they'd twisted it into something ugly. Sources say Victoria Chen, 42, met Daniel Morrison at an upscale restaurant where they were seen holding hands and crying together. Within 24 hours, Morrison received a triple promotion and his manager was terminated. Daniel's phone rang. Victoria's name flashed on the screen. "Have you seen it?" Her voice was tight, controlled, but he could hear the fear underneath. "I've seen it. The board is calling an emergency meeting. They want my resignation." "What?" "Stock dropped 8% in the last hour. Investors are panicking." Victoria paused. "Daniel, I need you to come to the meeting." "Me. You're part of this. They're going to have questions. We need to face this together." Daniel closed his eyes. This was his fault. He should have warned her about the threats. Should have told her someone was watching. Should have... "Daniel, are you there?" "I'm here. I'll be there." "Conference room on the 40th floor. 20 minutes. She hung up. Daniel sat at his desk, staring at his phone. The threatening messages from weeks ago flashed through his mind. "I'm watching. Everyone will know. By Monday, the whole world will know what kind of CEO Victoria Chen really is." Monday had come and gone. The attacker had waited, planned, gathered more ammunition, and now the bomb had exploded. Daniel took the elevator to the 40th floor. Every eye in the building seemed to follow him. Every whisper seemed to contain his name. He walked into the conference room and faced a firing squad. 8 board members sat around the table. Victoria was at the head, her face pale but composed. An empty chair waited beside her. "Mr. Morrison," said a silver-haired man at the far end, Harrison Wells, chairman of the board. "Please sit down." Daniel sat. "I assume you've seen the news," Harrison continued. "I have." "Then you understand why we're here." "I understand you're concerned about the company's image. We're concerned about a lot more than that." A woman to Harrison's left, board member, Catherine Price, leaned forward. "We're concerned about judgment, about decision-making, about whether our CEO is fit to lead." "Catherine," Victoria started. "Let me finish." Catherine's eyes were cold. "Ms. Chen, in the past week, you've fired 3 senior employees, promoted an unknown junior analyst to director, and apparently conducted a romantic relationship with a subordinate, all while keeping the board completely in the dark. The firings were justified. Richard Hayes and the others were... We've seen the evidence. The firings may have been justified, but the timing is suspicious." Catherine turned to Daniel. "Mr. Morrison, when did you first meet Ms. Chen?" 11 days ago. "And in those 11 days you've received a promotion that would normally take 5 to 7 years. Your salary has tripled. You now report directly to the CEO." Catherine paused. "How do you explain that?" "My work explains it." "Your work, a single proposal. A proposal that your previous management buried because it made them look bad." Daniel kept his voice steady. "A proposal that could increase client retention by 20%. A proposal that anyone in this room would have approved if they'd actually seen it." Harrison raised an eyebrow. "You're confident." "I'm right. There's a difference." "Daniel," Victoria said quietly. "A warning." "No." Daniel turned to face the board fully. "You want to know what happened? I'll tell you exactly what happened. 11 days ago, I walked into a restaurant expecting nothing. I'd been a widower for 3 years. My sister forced me to go on a blind date because I'd forgotten how to live." He paused. "I found Victoria crying. Alone. Holding a knife and wishing she was dead." Silence. Complete, shocked silence. "I sat down because I've been that low. I know what it feels like to want to disappear, and I couldn't leave someone in that kind of pain." Daniel's voice hardened. "She told me things that night. Real things, honest things. Things about being lonely and invisible and surrounded by people who only want what they can take. He looked at each board member in turn. How many of you have ever asked Victoria how she's doing? Not how the company is doing. How she's doing. As a person. As a human being. No one answered. That's what I thought. Daniel leaned back. You're angry because she made decisions without you. Fine. But don't pretend this is about the company. This is about control. You're afraid she's becoming something you can't manage. Mr. Morrison, Harrison started. I'm not finished. Daniel stood up. Victoria promoted me because I deserved it. Because my work is good. Because I've been invisible at this company for 4 years, and she's the first person who actually looked. He turned to Victoria. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the threats. I should have. I was scared of losing you. But I won't let these people make you feel ashamed of being human. Victoria stared at him. Her eyes were wet. What threats? Harrison asked. Daniel pulled out his phone and scrolled to the messages. He handed it to Harrison. Someone's been watching us since that first night. They sent me threats. Told me they had pictures. Told me they were going to destroy Victoria. Daniel paused. I should have come forward immediately. I didn't because I was afraid. That's on me. Harrison read the messages. Passed the phone around the table. Each board member's expression changed as they read. Why didn't you report this? Catherine asked. Because I didn't know who to trust. For all I knew, one of you sent them. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. Harrison set down the phone. This changes things. Does it? Victoria spoke for the first time in minutes. Does it change your opinion of me? Or am I still the unstable CEO who made reckless decisions? Victoria. I'm tired, Harrison. Victoria stood up. I'm tired of pretending that success means I can't be lonely. I'm tired of acting like having feelings makes me weak. I'm tired of being everyone's CEO and no one's friend. She walked to the window. I built this company from nothing. Gave it 20 years of my life. Every relationship I've ever had failed because I put this company first. Every friendship faded because I was never available. I don't have children. I don't have a partner. I don't have anyone waiting for me when I go home at night. Her voice cracked. And then I met Daniel. For one night, one single night, I felt like someone actually saw me. And now you want me to apologize for that? No one's asking you to apologize, Harrison said carefully. Then what are you asking? We're asking you to step back from Mr. Morrison publicly. Distance yourself until this blows over. Abandon him, you mean? Protect yourself. Victoria turned around. Her eyes found Daniel's. And if I refuse? The room went silent. Harrison sighed. Then we'll have to consider other options. You'll fire me. We'll do what's best for the company. Victoria nodded slowly. I see. Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. A message from Rebecca. Emma collapsed at school. We're at St. Mary's Hospital. Come now. The world stopped. Daniel. Victoria's voice seemed far away. Daniel, what's wrong? Emma. He could barely form the words. Hospital. I have to go. He was out the door before anyone could respond. The drive to St. Mary's took 15 minutes. Daniel made it in 8. He burst through the emergency room doors, shoving past people not caring about anything except finding his daughter. Emma Morrison. He gasped at the front desk. 8 years old. She was brought in from school. Room 112, down the hall, second door on the left. Daniel ran. He found Rebecca in the hallway, pacing, her face streaked with tears. Becca, where is she? What happened? She collapsed during recess. The school called 911. Rebecca grabbed his arms. They think it's her appendix. They're prepping her for surgery. Surgery. It ruptured, Danny. They have to operate now. Daniel pushed past her into the room. Emma lay on a hospital bed, small and pale, hooked up to machines that beeped and hummed. A nurse was adjusting her IV. A doctor stood at the foot of the bed reviewing a chart. "Daddy!" Daniel rushed to her side, grabbing her hand. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." "My tummy really hurts." "I know, sweetheart. The doctors are going to fix it." Daniel pressed his forehead to hers. "You're going to be okay. I promise." "I'm scared." "I know. I'm scared too. But you're the bravest person I know. Remember, braver than astronauts. Braver than marine biologists. Braver than anyone." Emma tried to smile. It broke his heart. "Mr. Morrison." The doctor approached. "We need to take her now. The surgery should take about an hour. Someone will update you as soon as we're done." "Can I stay with her?" "Until we get to the OR." Daniel walked beside the gurney as they wheeled Emma toward the operating room. He held her hand the whole way. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. If something happens, tell Victoria I wanted to show her more dolphins." Daniel's eyes burned. "You're going to show her yourself. When you wake up, she'll be right here. Promise. Promise." They reached the OR doors. A nurse gently pulled Daniel back. "You'll have to wait here, Mr. Morrison." Daniel watched them wheel his daughter away. The doors swung shut, and he was alone. He stood there for a long time. Minutes, maybe hours. Time lost all meaning. At some point, Rebecca appeared beside him. She didn't say anything, just stood there, present, solid. "This is my fault," Daniel whispered. "Danny, no. I was so focused on Victoria, on the job, on finally feeling something again." His voice broke. "I should have noticed she wasn't feeling well. I should have paid more attention. I should have—" "Stop." Rebecca grabbed his face with both hands. "This is not your fault. Appendicitis happens. It happens to healthy kids with perfect parents. You couldn't have known." "But if I'd been there, you were there. Every day, every night. For 3 years you've been there." Rebecca's eyes were fierce. "You're a good father, Danny. The best father I know. Don't you dare blame yourself for something you couldn't control." Daniel collapsed into her arms. For the first time in 3 years, he sobbed. Really sobbed. The way he hadn't at Sarah's funeral. The way he hadn't in all the months of grief and exhaustion and loneliness. He cried for Sarah, for Emma, for himself. And Rebecca held him through all of it. An hour passed, then another. Daniel sat in the waiting room, staring at nothing, running through every terrible possibility in his mind. What if something went wrong? What if she didn't wake up? What if he lost her too? He couldn't lose Emma. She was everything. The only thing that made sense in a world that had stopped making sense 3 years ago. "Daniel." He looked up. Victoria stood in the doorway of the waiting room. She was still in her business suit, still wearing the armor she'd worn to the board meeting. But her eyes were different, softer, scared. "Victoria, what are you doing here?" "Rebecca called me." Victoria crossed the room and sat down beside him. "How is she?" "Still in surgery. They haven't told me anything." Victoria took his hand, just held it, didn't say anything. "The board meeting," Daniel started. "Doesn't matter." "Victoria, they were going to—" "I said it doesn't matter." Victoria squeezed his hand. "Nothing matters except Emma. Nothing matters except being here." Daniel stared at her. "You could lose everything." "I already lost everything that mattered once. 20 years ago, my father had a heart attack. I was in a meeting. I told my secretary I'd call him back." Her voice was quiet. "He died before I got to the hospital. I never got to say goodbye." "Victoria, I won't make that mistake again. Not for a board meeting, not for anything." She turned to face him. "I'm here, Daniel. Whatever happens, I'm here." They sat together in silence. Minutes passed. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. Finally, the OR doors opened. A surgeon walked toward them, pulling off his mask. Daniel shot to his feet. "Mr. Morrison, the surgery went well. Emma's appendix ruptured, but we were able to remove it before any serious infection spread. She's going to be fine." Daniel's knees buckled. Victoria caught him. "She's okay," he gasped. "She's more than okay. She's a fighter. Woke up asking for dolphins." Daniel laughed. A broken, relieved, beautiful laugh. "Can I see her? She's in recovery, room 214. She's been asking for her dad." Daniel started toward the door, then stopped. He turned back to Victoria. "Come with me." "Daniel, I don't want to intrude. She asked for you." His voice cracked. "Before the surgery, she said she wanted to show you more dolphins. She made me promise you'd be there when she woke up." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "Please," Daniel said, "come with me." They walked to room 214 together. Emma was awake, propped up on pillows, looking pale, but alive. So alive. "Daddy!" Daniel rushed to her side, gathering her carefully in his arms. "Hey, Munchkin. Hey, brave girl. You did so good." "The doctor said I was tough." "The toughest." Emma looked past him. Her face lit up. "Victoria, you came." Victoria approached the bed slowly. "Of course I came. I heard you had an adventure." My tummy exploded. "It did not explode," Daniel said, laughing through his tears. "It felt like it exploded." Emma reached for Victoria's hand. "I was worried I wouldn't get to show you the dolphins at the aquarium. Dad said he'd take me when I'm better. Will you come?" Victoria looked at Daniel. He nodded. "I would love to come," Victoria said softly. "Promise? Promise." Emma smiled. A real smile. Then her eyes started to droop. "I'm sleepy, Daddy." "Sleep, baby. I'll be right here when you wake up." "Victoria, too." Victoria squeezed her hand. "I'm not going anywhere." Emma's eyes closed. Within moments, she was asleep. Daniel and Victoria stood on opposite sides of the bed, looking at the little girl between them. "Thank you," Daniel whispered, "for being here. There's nowhere else I'd be." The board. The board can wait. They can all wait. Victoria looked at him across Emma's sleeping form. "This is what matters. This little girl. You. This moment right here. They'll destroy you if you don't go back." "Maybe." Victoria paused. "Or maybe I'll destroy them." "What do you mean?" "I've spent 20 years building something. I've sacrificed everything for that company. But tonight, standing in that waiting room, I realized something." Her voice hardened. "I'm done sacrificing. I'm done putting the company before my life. If the board wants a fight, I'll give them a fight." "Victoria." "I have controlling shares. I have evidence of mismanagement that would destroy every person who voted against me today. I have lawyers who would burn that boardroom to the ground if I asked them to." She smiled, a dangerous smile. "Harrison Wells wants to push me out, fine. Let him try. But I'm not going quietly. And I'm not abandoning you or Emma to protect myself." Daniel stared at her. This woman who'd been crying in a restaurant 11 days ago. This woman who'd gripped a knife and wished she was dead. This woman who'd been so lonely she couldn't breathe. She was still in there, the vulnerable one, the broken one. But now there was something else too. Something fierce, something protective. "I love you," Daniel said. The words came out before he could stop them, before he could think, before he could worry about whether it was too soon or too much or too everything. He just said it. Victoria's breath caught. "Daniel, I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other 11 days. I know everything is falling apart and people are trying to destroy us, and none of this makes sense." Daniel moved around the bed closer to her. "But I haven't felt alive in 3 years. I forgot what it was like to want something, to hope for something, to feel like the future might actually be worth living." He took her hands. "You gave that back to me. You saw me when no one else did. You sat in that restaurant and you told me the truth about yourself, and something in me woke up. Something I thought died with Sarah." Victoria's tears spilled over. "I love you too," she whispered. "I didn't know I could. I didn't know what love felt like. But this, whatever this is, it's the closest I've ever been." Daniel pulled her into his arms. They stood there holding each other, while Emma slept peacefully between them. Tomorrow, there would be battles to fight, boards to face, enemies to defeat. But tonight, there was only this. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the dark. 2 lonely souls who finally had something worth protecting. "We're going to be okay," Victoria murmured against his chest. "Yeah," Daniel said quietly. "I think we are." Emma stirred in her sleep. "Dolphins," she mumbled. Daniel and Victoria looked at each other and laughed. "Dolphins," Victoria agreed. "As many as you want." Outside the hospital window, the city glittered in the darkness. And for the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel so frightening. Victoria walked into the boardroom at 8 o'clock the next morning like a general entering battle. She hadn't slept, hadn't changed. Still wore the same suit from yesterday, now wrinkled, now human. But her eyes were sharp. Her spine was steel. Harrison Wells sat at the head of the table with Catherine Price and 6 other board members. They'd expected her to crawl in, apologize, beg for her position. They'd miscalculated. "Good morning," Victoria said. She didn't sit. "I assume you've all had time to review the situation." "Victoria, we need to discuss—" "No." Victoria cut Harrison off. "You need to listen. I've spent the last 12 hours doing something I should have done years ago. I've been investigating my own company." She dropped a thick folder on the table. "What is this?" Catherine asked. "Evidence. 3 years of it." Victoria's voice was ice. "Richard Hayes wasn't the only one burying proposals and taking credit for other people's work. He learned it from someone. Would you like to guess who?" Silence. "Harrison." Victoria turned to face the chairman. 17 proposals in the last 3 years that could have saved this company millions. All of them killed before they reached the board. All of them killed by you." Harrison's face went white. "That's absurd." "Is it?" Victoria opened the folder and pulled out a stack of emails. "Because I have communications between you and Richard. I have financial records showing kickbacks from vendors you were supposed to be negotiating against. I have evidence of a side deal you made with our biggest competitor that cost us the Wexler account." She threw the papers across the table. "You weren't protecting the company, Harrison. You were protecting yourself. And when I started getting too close to the truth, you decided to destroy me first." Victoria. "These accusations are—" "The anonymous messages Daniel received. They came from a phone registered to your assistant." Victoria smiled coldly. "You really should have been more careful." The room exploded. Board members shouted over each other. Harrison was on his feet, face purple with rage. Catherine was reading through the documents, her expression shifting from disbelief to horror. "This is a setup," Harrison yelled. "She's trying to deflect from her own—" "Sit down, Harrison." The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. A man in his 60s walked in, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. Victoria's heart stopped. "Robert," she breathed. "Robert Chen, Victoria's father's oldest friend, the original investor in Morrison & Associates, the man who'd believed in her when no one else would." "I got your call last night," Robert said. He walked to the table and picked up one of the documents. "I've been reviewing these since 4 in the morning. And I have to say, Harrison—" He looked at the chairman with cold disgust. "I'm disappointed." Robert, whatever she told you. She told me the truth. For the first time in years, someone in this room told me the truth. Robert set down the document. I've been a silent partner for too long. That ends now. He turned to Victoria. Call the vote. Victoria nodded. All in favor of removing Harrison Wells as chairman of the board and launching a full investigation into his conduct. Hands went up. 1, 2, 5, 6. Catherine Price raised her hands slowly, her eyes on Victoria. That's 7, Victoria said. The motion passes. Harrison's face contorted. You can't do this. I built this company with you. I was here from the beginning. And now you're here at the end. Victoria met his eyes. Security will escort you out. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal belongings. This isn't over. Yes, it is. 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. Harrison looked around the room at the board members who wouldn't meet his eyes at Robert, who stared him down at Victoria, who stood unbowed. He left without another word. The moment the door closed, Victoria's legs nearly gave out. She grabbed the edge of the table for support. Victoria. Robert moved to her side. Are you all right? I'm fine. Just tired. When's the last time you slept? I don't remember. Robert's expression softened. Go home. Get some rest. We'll handle the cleanup here. I can't. There's still... Victoria. Robert's voice was gentle but firm. You've just won a war. The battle can wait until tomorrow. Victoria looked at Catherine, who nodded. He's right, Catherine said. Go. Be with your family. Family. The word hit Victoria like a wave. She'd never had that before. Never had anyone to go home to. But now, she did. Thank you, Victoria said quietly. All of you. She walked out of the boardroom, out of the building, into the morning light. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Emma's awake. She's asking for you. And dolphins. Victoria laughed. For the first time in what felt like forever, she laughed. She got in her car and drove to the hospital. Emma was sitting up in bed when Victoria arrived, arguing with a nurse about breakfast. I don't want oatmeal. I want pancakes. Sweetheart, the doctor said, pancakes are soft. My tummy can handle pancakes. She's got a point, Daniel said from the chair beside the bed. He looked exhausted, but happy. Pancakes are definitely soft. You're not helping, Mr. Morrison. I'm absolutely helping. I'm advocating for my daughter's nutritional preferences. The nurse threw up her hands. I'll see what I can do. She left, and Emma spotted Victoria in the doorway. Victoria, did you bring dolphins? Not this time. Victoria crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed. But I brought something better. What? A promise. Victoria took Emma's hand. When you're all better, we're going to the aquarium, all 3 of us, and we're going to see every dolphin they have. Emma's face lit up. Really? Really. Dad, did you hear the aquarium? I heard Munchkin. Daniel caught Victoria's eye over Emma's head. His expression asked a question. Victoria nodded slightly. It's done. Daniel's shoulders relaxed. He hadn't realized how tense he'd been until that moment. Emma, Victoria said, I need to talk to your dad for a minute. Is that okay? Are you going to kiss? Victoria's face went red. What? Aunt Becca says when grown-ups need to talk alone, they're usually going to kiss. Emma grinned. I don't mind. I think you should kiss. Dad needs more kisses. He's been sad for a long time. Daniel covered his face with his hands. Emma, we talked about this. I'm just saying what's true. Victoria laughed, leaning down to kiss Emma's forehead. You're something else, you know that. That's what everyone says. Daniel and Victoria stepped into the hallway. The moment the door closed, Victoria collapsed against him. It's over, she breathed. Harrison's out. Robert's taking temporary chairmanship. The board is launching a full investigation. What about the threats? The messages? Traced back to Harrison's assistant. He was behind all of it. The leak to the press, the anonymous tips, everything. Victoria pulled back to look at him. He was trying to force me out so he could take control of the company. So it was never about us. It was always about us, just not the way we thought. Victoria's eyes glistened. He used our relationship as a weapon, but he underestimated how much I was willing to fight for it. Daniel cupped her face in his hands. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the threats sooner. If you had, it wouldn't have changed anything. Harrison was planning this for months, maybe years. Victoria shook her head. What matters is that we're here now, together, and no one's going to tear us apart. She kissed him, soft and slow and full of promise. When they broke apart, Daniel was smiling. What? Victoria asked. Emma was right. I did need more kisses. Your daughter is terrifyingly perceptive. She gets it from her mother. The words came out before Daniel could stop them. The mention of Sarah, of the woman who should have been there, hung in the air between them. I'm sorry, Daniel said quickly. I didn't mean... Don't apologize. Victoria took his hands. Sarah was her mother, will always be her mother. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I know, it's just, sometimes I feel guilty, for being happy, for moving on. Daniel's voice cracked. Like I'm betraying her somehow. You're not. Victoria squeezed his hands. You're living. That's what she would have wanted. You said it yourself, she was the brave one. She would have wanted you to be brave too. Daniel closed his eyes. Tears slipped down his cheeks. I miss her, he whispered. Every day. I know. But I love you. I know that too. Those things can both be true. Victoria wiped his tears with her thumb. Grief and love aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same heart. Daniel pulled her close. They stood there in the hospital hallway, holding each other, two broken people slowly learning how to be whole. Excuse me. They turned. A doctor stood behind them, clipboard in hand. Mr. Morrison. Good news. Emma's recovery is ahead of schedule. If everything looks good this afternoon, she can go home tomorrow. Tomorrow? Daniel's face broke into a smile. That's amazing. She's a tough kid, very determined. The doctor glanced at Victoria. She's been telling everyone about the dolphins. Victoria laughed. That's Emma. The doctor left. Daniel turned to Victoria. Come home with us, he said. What? When Emma gets released. Come home with us. Daniel paused. Stay. Daniel, I don't want to intrude. You're not intruding. You're family. He held her gaze. That's what Catherine said in the boardroom, right? Go be with your family, so be with us, please. Victoria's throat tightened. Family. She'd spent 42 years without one. 20 years building a company that consumed everything. 10 years watching relationships fail because she couldn't give enough. 5 years convincing herself she was better off alone. And now in a hospital hallway, a widower with kind eyes was offering her everything she'd never dared to want. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. The next day, Emma was released from the hospital with strict instructions to rest. She ignored most of them. I want to show Victoria my room, she announced the moment they walked into Daniel's apartment. Emma, you need to lie down. I'll lie down in my room, after I show Victoria. Emma grabbed Victoria's hand and tugged. Come on. Victoria looked at Daniel helplessly. He shrugged. Pick your battles. This isn't one you'll win. Emma's room was small but bright. Posters of dolphins and whales covered the walls. A bookshelf overflowed with marine biology books. A stuffed orca sat on her pillow. This is Gerald, Emma said, holding up the orca. He's my best friend. Well, my best friend, who's a stuffed animal. My best human friend is Lucy from school. Gerald's very handsome. He's a killer whale. They're not really killers, though. That's just a bad name. They're actually super smart, and they have families, and they talk to each other. Emma climbed onto her bed, clutching Gerald. Did you know orcas are actually dolphins, not whales? Everyone gets that wrong. I didn't know that. Most people don't. That's why I'm going to be a marine biologist, to teach people. Emma patted the bed. Sit with me. Victoria sat. Victoria. Emma's voice was suddenly quieter. Can I ask you something? Anything. Are you going to stay like forever? Victoria's heart clenched. I want to, if that's okay with you. It's definitely okay. Emma hugged Gerald tighter. I like having you here. Dad smiles more when you're around. He didn't used to smile very much. He's been through a lot. I know. Mommy dying was really hard. Emma was quiet for a moment. I don't remember her that much anymore. I was only 5 when she went to heaven. Sometimes I look at pictures and I try really hard to remember what her voice sounded like, but I can't. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. That must be hard. Yeah, sometimes it makes me sad. Emma looked up at her. But then I think maybe that's why you're here. Not to replace Mommy, but to help us remember how to be happy again. Victoria couldn't speak. The lump in her throat was too big. You make Dad happy, Emma continued. And you make me happy too. So maybe it's okay that I can't remember everything about Mommy, because she'd want us to be happy, right? I think she would. Me too, Emma yawned. I'm tired now. Then sleep. Will you stay until I fall asleep? Victoria brushed Emma's hair back from her forehead. I'll stay. Emma's eyes closed. Within minutes, her breathing evened out. Victoria sat on the edge of the bed, watching this little girl sleep, feeling something shift inside her. Something permanent. Something irreversible. She loved this child. Not because she was Daniel's daughter. Not because she was trying to win his affection. But because Emma was Emma, curious and brave and honest, in a way that most adults forgot how to be. Hey! Victoria looked up. Daniel stood in the doorway watching them. She fell asleep fast, he said quietly. She was exhausted. Didn't want to admit it. Daniel walked over and sat beside her on the bed. They looked at Emma together. She asked me if I was going to stay forever, Victoria said. What did you tell her? I said I wanted to, if it was okay with her. And she said it was definitely okay. Victoria paused. She also said, I make you happy. That you smile more when I'm around. Daniel reached over and took her hand. She's right. I do. She's pretty remarkable. She is. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Sarah would have liked you. You think so? I know so. You're strong, honest, a little bit broken. He smiled slightly. She always said perfect people were boring. She would have loved how imperfect you are. Victoria laughed softly. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. It's true. Daniel turned to face her. I want you to know something. Whatever this is between us, it's not because I'm lonely. It's not because you're the first person who showed up. It's because you're you. Because of who you are. Who am I? Someone real. Someone who's been through hell and came out fighting. Someone who saw a crying stranger in a restaurant and sat down instead of walking away. Daniel paused. Someone I want to build a life with. Victoria's breath caught. Daniel. I know it's fast. I know everything is complicated. But I've already lost one person I loved because I waited too long to say what I felt. His voice cracked. I'm not making that mistake again. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. I'm saying I want you here, not just tonight, not just this week, but every night. Every week, every year. Daniel squeezed her hand. I'm saying I want to wake up next to you and argue about breakfast and watch Emma grow up together. I'm saying I want forever, if you want it too. Victoria was crying now, tears streaming down her face. I've never had forever, she whispered. I've never had anyone who wanted to stay. I'm staying, as long as you'll let me. What if I mess it up? What if I don't know how to do this? Then we'll figure it out together. Daniel wiped her tears. That's what forever means. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep showing up. Victoria leaned forward and kissed him. Soft and gentle and full of everything she couldn't put into words. When they pulled apart, Emma was watching them. I knew you were going to kiss, she said sleepily. Emma. Daniel's face flushed. You're supposed to be asleep. I was. Then I woke up. Then I saw you kissing. Emma grinned. It's okay. I like it. You like it? Yeah. It means we're going to be a family, right? Emma looked at Victoria. You're going to be my... She trailed off, uncertain. Victoria's heart pounded. I'm going to be whatever you want me to be, she said carefully. I'm not trying to replace your mom, but I'm here. And I love you. And if you want to call me Mom. The word came out small, tentative, like Emma was testing it on her tongue. Can I call you Mom? Emma asked. Not because you're replacing Mommy, but because you're my other mom. My new mom. Is that okay? Victoria couldn't breathe. She looked at Daniel. His eyes were full of tears. It's okay with me, he said quietly. If it's okay with you. Victoria turned back to Emma. This little girl with Sarah's eyes and Daniel's smile and a heart big enough to love someone new. Yeah, Victoria whispered. You can call me Mom. Emma launched herself forward, wrapping her arms around Victoria's neck. I love you, Mom, she said into Victoria's shoulder. Victoria held her tight, crying openly now, feeling something heal inside her that she didn't even know was broken. I love you too, baby, she whispered. I love you too. Daniel wrapped his arms around both of them, pulling them close. The three of them stayed like that for a long time, holding each other. A family. Outside the window, the sun was setting. Golden light spilled across the room, painting everything warm. Victoria thought about all the years she'd spent alone. All the nights in empty apartments. All the meals eaten by herself. All the times she'd convinced herself that success was enough, that money was enough, that being the CEO was enough. It hadn't been enough. But this moment in a small apartment with a man who saw her, and a little girl who called her Mom, this was everything. I have to tell you both something, Victoria said finally. What? Daniel asked. I've never been this happy, in my entire life. She looked at them, her family, her future. And it scares me to death. Why? Because happy things end, because people leave, because nothing this good can last. Daniel kissed her forehead. Maybe it can. Maybe we're the exception. How do you know? I don't. He smiled. But I'm willing to find out. Are you? Victoria looked at Emma, who was watching her with those big, trusting eyes. She looked at Daniel, whose love was steady and sure. She thought about Sarah, who was somehow present in this moment too, in Emma's laugh, in Daniel's courage, in the way this family had been broken and put back together in a new shape. Yeah, Victoria said quietly. I'm willing to find out. Emma yawned again. Can we have pancakes for dinner, to celebrate? Celebrate what? Daniel asked. Being a family, duh. Emma rolled her eyes like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Pancakes are for celebrations. Daniel and Victoria looked at each other and laughed. Pancakes it is, Daniel said. They went to the kitchen together. Daniel made pancakes while Emma supervised from her perch on the counter, making sure he added enough chocolate chips. Victoria set the table feeling strange and wonderful and completely at home. When they sat down to eat, Emma insisted they all hold hands. "For what?" Victoria asked. "Grace, we have to say thank you." "To who?" Emma thought about it. "To everything. To the dolphins. To the hospital. To you for coming to dinner that first night." She squeezed Victoria's hand. "To Mommy for giving us Dad. And to Dad for finding you." Victoria's eyes filled with tears again. "That's beautiful, Munchkin," Daniel said. "I know. Emma grinned. "I'm very smart." They ate their pancakes. Emma told stories about her stuffed animals. Daniel laughed more than Victoria had ever seen him laugh. And Victoria sat there surrounded by warmth and love, and something she'd never thought she'd have. A home. Not a house. Not an apartment. Not a corner office or a penthouse suite. A home. And she was never going to let it go. 3 months passed like a dream. Victoria moved into Daniel's apartment 2 weeks after Emma's surgery. It was too small for 3 people. The closets were cramped. The kitchen was tiny. The walls were thin enough to hear the neighbors arguing about dishes. Victoria had never been happier. "We should look for a bigger place," Daniel said one morning over breakfast. "Why?" Victoria was helping Emma with her hair, braiding it the way Emma had taught her. "I like it here. You have a penthouse, with a view, and a kitchen bigger than this entire apartment." "I had a penthouse. I sold it." Daniel's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "You what?" "Last week. The money's going into a trust for Emma's education." Victoria finished the braid and patted Emma's shoulder. "Go brush your teeth, Munchkin." Emma bounced off to the bathroom. Daniel stared at Victoria. "You sold your penthouse." "It was too big. Too empty." Victoria shrugged. "I'd rather live somewhere that feels like home. This apartment has 1 bathroom. I've noticed. And a leak in the ceiling that I've been meaning to fix for 2 years. Very charming. Adds character." Daniel set down his fork. "Victoria, you don't have to give up everything for us. My lifestyle was lonely." Victoria reached across the table and took his hand. "I'd rather have a leaky ceiling and a family than a perfect penthouse and no one to share it with." Daniel squeezed her hand. His eyes were wet. "I love you," he said. "I know." Victoria smiled. "I love you too." "Gross," Emma shouted from the bathroom. "You're being gross again." "We're not being gross," Daniel called back. "We're being romantic." "Same thing," Victoria laughed. This was her life now. Morning chaos and breakfast arguments, and a 9-year-old who thought romance was gross. It was perfect. The company thrived under Victoria's renewed leadership. Robert Chen stayed on as chairman, guiding the board through the transition. Catherine Price became an unexpected ally, championing the new initiatives that Victoria and Daniel developed together. Daniel's client retention program launched to massive success. Within 2 months, retention rates had increased by 23%, better than even Victoria had predicted. "You're a genius," Victoria told him one night. "I'm really not. The numbers say otherwise. The numbers say I had one good idea." Daniel pulled her closer on the couch. Emma was asleep in her room. The apartment was quiet. "Everything else is just hard work." "That's what genius is. A good idea, plus the work to make it real." Victoria rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm proud of you." Yeah, and I'm proud of us. What we've built." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Victoria could feel his heartbeat against her cheek. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Anything. Where do you see this going long term?" Victoria lifted her head to look at him. "What do you mean?" Daniel hesitated. "I've been thinking about the future, about what comes next, and I realized I don't actually know what you want. What you see when you imagine 5 years from now, 10 years. "I see you," Victoria said simply. I see Emma. I see us. Together. That's it? What else is there? Daniel took a breath. Marriage. Is that something you want? Victoria's heart stopped. Are you asking me to marry you? I'm asking if you'd want me to ask you to marry you. Daniel laughed nervously. That's not how I planned to say that. How did you plan to say it? I don't know. Better. Smoother. With a ring, probably. Victoria stared at him. This man who'd walked into a restaurant and sat down with a crying stranger. This man who'd stayed when anyone else would have left. This man who'd shown her what love looked like, not the fairy tale version, but the real one. Messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. Yes, she said. Yes. Yes, I'd want you to ask me. Yes, I want to marry you. Yes to all of it. Victoria grabbed his face and kissed him. Yes. Daniel pulled back, eyes wide. Wait. Does this mean we're engaged? I think it does. But I don't have a ring. I was going to buy one. I had a whole plan. Daniel. Victoria laughed. I don't need a ring. I don't need a plan. I just need you. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Daniel kissed her again. Longer this time. Deeper. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying. We should tell Emma, Victoria whispered. Now. She's going to be so excited. She's been dropping hints for weeks. What kind of hints? Yesterday she asked me if I knew my ring size. Then she asked Daniel if he knew what cut of diamond I liked. Victoria smiled. She's not subtle. She gets that from her mother. The words hung in the air. Daniel's face flickered with something, pain maybe, or memory. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't mean. Don't apologize. Victoria touched his cheek. Sarah's part of this family too. She always will be. You really believe that? I do. She gave you Emma. She gave you the capacity to love like this. Everything good in your life started with her. Victoria paused. I'm just grateful I get to be part of what comes next. Daniel pulled her close. They sat there in the quiet apartment, holding each other, thinking about the future they were building and the past that had brought them here. Tomorrow, Daniel said finally. Let's tell Emma tomorrow. Make it special. How? The aquarium. We promised her dolphins, remember? Victoria smiled. Perfect. The aquarium was crowded on Saturday morning. Emma ran ahead, pressing her face against every tank, rattling off facts about every creature she saw. That's a moon jellyfish. They don't have brains or hearts. They just float around being beautiful. She pointed at another tank. And that's a sea turtle. They can live for over 100 years. Imagine being that old. I'd rather not, Daniel muttered. Victoria elbowed him. Be nice. You're not that far off. I'm 41. Basically ancient. Says the woman who's 42. 42 and thriving. They bantered their way through the exhibits, following Emma's enthusiastic lead. Finally, they reached the main attraction. The dolphin tank. Emma stood at the glass, transfixed. 3 bottlenose dolphins swam in lazy circles, occasionally approaching the glass to investigate the visitors. They're so beautiful, Emma breathed. Look at them. They're smiling. Dolphins always look like they're smiling, Daniel said. It's just the shape of their mouths. No, Dad. They're actually happy. Scientists proved it. Dolphins can feel joy and sadness and love, just like people. Emma turned to Victoria. Did you know dolphins stay with their families their whole lives? They never leave. Victoria's throat tightened. I didn't know that. It's true. They take care of each other. Forever. Emma looked back at the dolphins. I think that's beautiful. Daniel caught Victoria's eye. She nodded. Emma, Daniel said, we have something to tell you. Emma turned around, suddenly alert. What is something wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something's actually very right. Daniel knelt down to Emma's level. Victoria and I are getting married. Emma's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Like actually married with a wedding and a dress and cake? All of it, Victoria said. If that's okay with you. If that's okay with me! Emma shrieked so loud that other visitors turned to stare. It's more than okay. It's the best thing ever. She launched herself at them, wrapping one arm around Daniel and one around Victoria. I knew it, Emma said. I knew you were going to ask. I've been waiting forever. It's been 3 months, Daniel said. That's forever when you're 9. Victoria laughed, hugging Emma tight. Over the little girl's head she met Daniel's eyes. This is it, she thought. This is everything. Can I be the flower girl? Emma asked. Please, please, please. Who else would be the flower girl? I don't know. Maybe someone else. But I want to be the flower girl more than anything. Then you're the flower girl, Victoria said. Official. Emma pulled back, her face serious. I have conditions. Conditions. First, I get to help pick the flowers. Second, I get to wear whatever dress I want. And third, Emma paused dramatically. We have to get married here. At the aquarium, Daniel asked. Yes, in front of the dolphins. Emma gestured at the tank. They can be our witnesses. Dolphins are very trustworthy. Victoria looked at Daniel. He shrugged. I mean, it's not traditional, he said. Neither are we. Good point. Daniel turned to Emma. Okay, Munchkin. Aquarium wedding, in front of the dolphins. Emma cheered so loud that one of the dolphins swam over to investigate. 2 months later, they stood in front of that same tank. The aquarium had closed early for the wedding. Chairs lined the viewing area. String lights hung from the ceiling, reflecting off the water like stars. Rebecca sat in the front row, already crying. Robert Chen was beside her, looking distinguished in a dark suit. Catherine Price had come along with a handful of colleagues who'd become friends over the past months. The guest list was small, intimate, perfect. Daniel stood at the front wearing a simple gray suit. His hands were shaking. Nervous? Robert asked from beside him. Terrified. Good. That means it matters. The music started. A soft acoustic version of a song Sarah used to love. Daniel had suggested it. Victoria had agreed immediately. Emma appeared first, walking down the aisle in a pale pink dress, scattering rose petals with intense concentration. When she reached the front, she gave Daniel a thumbs up and took her place beside Rebecca. Then Victoria appeared. Daniel forgot how to breathe. She wore a simple white dress, no veil, no elaborate train. Just her walking toward him, more beautiful than anything he'd ever seen. Behind her, 3 dolphins swam in their tank, seemingly aware that something important was happening. Victoria reached the front. Daniel took her hands. Hi, he whispered. Hi, she whispered back. The officiant began speaking, but Daniel barely heard the words. He was lost in Victoria's eyes, in the reality of this moment, in the impossible, beautiful fact that he was here getting married again after swearing he never would. Daniel and Victoria have written their own vows, the officiant said. Daniel took a breath. Victoria. 4 months ago, I walked into a restaurant expecting nothing. I was broken, empty, going through the motions of a life I'd forgotten how to live. He paused. And then I saw you, crying, alone, holding a knife and wishing you could disappear. And something in me, something I thought had died with Sarah, woke up. His voice cracked. You showed me that it's possible to be broken and still find love. That it's possible to grieve someone and still open your heart to someone new. That being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway. He squeezed her hands. I can't promise you perfect. I can't promise you easy. But I can promise you this. I will see you. Every day. The real you. The scared parts. And the strong parts. And everything in between. I will never make you feel invisible. I will never let you feel alone." Tears streamed down Victoria's face. "I love you," Daniel said. "Not because you saved me, because you didn't. I saved myself. But you showed me I was worth saving, and that's a gift I'll spend the rest of my life trying to repay." Victoria was supposed to speak next, but for a long moment she couldn't. "Sorry," she finally managed, wiping her eyes. "I had something prepared, but I think I'm just going to say what I feel." She looked at Daniel. "I spent 42 years believing I was unlovable, that I was too much, too successful, too intense, too broken. I built walls so high that no one could climb them, and then I convinced myself I was protecting myself when really I was just hiding." She took a breath. "Then you sat down at my table. You asked if I was okay, and you didn't leave when I told you the truth. You didn't run when you saw how broken I was. You just stayed." Her voice broke. "No one had ever stayed before. No one had ever looked at all my sharp edges and said, 'That's okay, I'll stay anyway.'" She looked at Emma, who was watching with tears streaming down her small face. "And then I met your daughter. This incredible little girl who asked me if I liked dolphins and decided I was worth loving based on my answer. Who called me mom before I even knew I wanted to be one. Who showed me that family isn't about blood. It's about choosing each other every day, no matter what." Victoria turned back to Daniel. "I promise to choose you, every day, in the hard moments and the easy ones, when you're strong and when you're struggling, when the world makes sense and when everything falls apart." She squeezed his hands. "I promise to be Emma's mom, not instead of Sarah, never instead of Sarah, but alongside her memory. I promise to tell Emma stories about her mother, to make sure she knows where she came from, to honor the woman who made this family possible." Victoria's voice steadied. "And I promise to never pick up that knife again, to never wish I was gone, to never let the darkness win. Because I have something to live for now. I have you. I have Emma. I have a home." She smiled through her tears. "I love you, Daniel Morrison, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." The officiant looked at both of them, clearly moved. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." He smiled. "You may kiss your bride." Daniel pulled Victoria into his arms and kissed her. The small crowd erupted in applause. Emma cheered. The dolphins, almost as if on cue, jumped in their tank, sending water splashing against the glass. When they finally pulled apart, Emma ran up and threw herself at both of them. "We're a family," she shouted. "An official, legal, actual family." "We were already a family," Daniel said. "Now we have paperwork." Victoria laughed, holding Emma close. Over the little girl's head, she caught Daniel's eye. "Thank you," she mouthed. For what he mouthed back. Everything. The reception was held in the aquarium's main hall. More string lights. More dolphins visible through the massive windows. More joy than Victoria had ever experienced in one place. Rebecca gave a toast that made everyone cry. Robert gave one that made everyone laugh. Emma demanded to give one too, and no one had the heart to refuse her. "When my mommy died," Emma said, holding her glass of sparkling cider, "I was really sad, and my dad was really sad. We were sad together for a long time." The room went quiet. But then Victoria came, and she didn't try to make us not sad. She just was sad with us, and then somehow we all started being happy together. Emma looked at Victoria. "My mommy used to say that family is the people who stay when everything is hard. Victoria stayed, so she's family." Emma raised her glass. "To family, the old kind and the new kind. To my mommy who's watching from heaven. And to my other mommy who's here with us now." Victoria was crying again. She seemed to do a lot of that these days. "To family," everyone echoed. The night wound down slowly. Guests left one by one offering congratulations and well wishes. Finally, only Daniel, Victoria, and Emma remained. They stood in front of the dolphin tank, just the three of them. "Best day ever," Emma said sleepily. She was leaning against Daniel, exhausted but happy. "Yeah," Daniel agreed. "Best day ever." Victoria watched the dolphins swim in their endless circles. She thought about the woman she'd been 4 months ago, crying in a restaurant, holding a knife, wishing she was dead. That woman felt like a stranger now. "What are you thinking about?" Daniel asked. "How different everything is. How different I am." "Good different. The best different." Victoria turned to look at him. "I used to think success meant being powerful, being wealthy, being feared, but that's not success. That's just surviving." "What's success then?" "This." Victoria gestured at the three of them. "Being loved, being known, having people who would miss you if you were gone." She paused. "Having a reason to stay." Daniel pulled her close. "I'm glad you stayed," he said. "Me too." Emma tugged at Victoria's dress. "Mom, can we come back here for anniversaries and stuff?" "Every year," Victoria promised. "The dolphins are part of our story now." "Cool," Emma yawned. "I'm tired." "Let's go home," Daniel said. Home. The word had never meant much to Victoria before. It was just a place. 4 walls and a roof. Somewhere to sleep. But now it meant something else. It meant Daniel's apartment with the leaky ceiling. It meant Emma's room with the dolphin posters. It meant breakfast arguments and bedtime stories, and a family that had chosen each other against all odds. They walked out of the aquarium together. The night was cool and clear. Stars scattered across the sky like spilled diamonds. Daniel carried Emma, who was already half asleep on his shoulder. Victoria walked beside them, her hand resting on Emma's back. "Victoria," Emma mumbled. "Yeah, baby. I'm glad Dad sat down that night, when you were crying." Victoria's throat tightened. "Me too. He's brave like that. He doesn't look brave, but he is." "I know. You're brave too. For letting us love you." Emma's eyes closed. "Some people don't let anyone love them. They're too scared. But you weren't too scared. You let us in." Victoria couldn't speak. "That's the bravest thing," Emma whispered. "Letting people in." Then she was asleep. Daniel looked at Victoria over Emma's head. His eyes were wet. "She's right, you know," he said quietly. "Letting people in is the bravest thing. I didn't have a choice. You two bulldozed right through my walls. You had a choice. You could have walked away. You could have kept us at arm's length. You could have let the fear win." Daniel smiled. "But you didn't. You stayed. You opened up. You let us love you. I didn't know how. You learned." Victoria thought about that, about all the moments over the past 4 months when she'd wanted to run, when the vulnerability had felt like too much, when the fear of losing this, of losing them, had nearly paralyzed her. But she'd stayed. Every time. She'd stayed. "I guess I did," she said. They reached the car. Daniel carefully placed Emma in the back seat, buckling her in with the practiced ease of a father who'd done it thousands of times. Victoria slid into the passenger seat. Daniel got behind the wheel. Before he started the car, he reached over and took her hand. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For sitting at that table. For crying in front of a stranger. For being honest about your pain." He paused. "If you hadn't been crying that night, I would have turned around and left. I wouldn't have sat down. I wouldn't have stayed. I didn't plan to be crying. I didn't plan any of it. I know. That's what makes it perfect. We didn't plan each other. We just happened. Daniel squeezed her hand. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You and Emma. My two girls. Victoria leaned over and kissed him softly. Take us home, she whispered. Daniel started the car. They drove through the quiet streets, past closed shops and sleeping houses, toward the small apartment that had become everything. Victoria watched the city lights blur past the window. She thought about all the roads that had led her here. All the pain. All the loneliness. All the nights she'd wondered if it was worth going on. It had been worth it. Every broken moment. Every tear. Every time she'd felt invisible and alone, it had all been leading to this. To Daniel. To Emma. To a family she never knew she needed. They pulled into the apartment complex. Daniel carried Emma inside, placing her gently in her bed. Victoria tucked her in, smoothing her hair back from her face. Good night, baby, she whispered. Night, Mom, Emma mumbled, already drifting back to sleep. Victoria stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her daughter sleep. Then she turned off the light and joined Daniel in the living room. They sat on the couch together, too tired to move, but too happy to sleep. So, Daniel said, we're married. We are. How does it feel? Victoria considered the question. Like I finally stopped running, she said. Like I finally found the place I was supposed to be. Any regrets? 1. Daniel's face fell. What? I wish I'd met you sooner. The relief on his face made her laugh. I'm serious, Victoria said. I wasted so many years being afraid, being alone. If I'd found you sooner, then we wouldn't be us. Daniel pulled her closer. Everything that happened, the pain, the loss, the loneliness, it made us who we are. It made us ready for each other. You really believe that? I have to. Otherwise, all that suffering was for nothing, and I refuse to believe that. Daniel kissed her forehead. Every broken road led us here. I'm grateful for all of them. Victoria closed her eyes, resting her head on his chest. She thought about Sarah, about the woman Daniel had loved first, the woman who'd given him Emma, the woman whose death had shattered him and somehow eventually led him to Victoria. I hope she knows, Victoria said quietly. Who? Sarah. I hope she knows you're happy. I hope she knows Emma's okay. Victoria paused. I hope she knows I'll take care of them. Daniel was quiet for a long time. I think she knows, he finally said. I think she sent you. You believe that? I have to believe something. And believing that Sarah, wherever she is, wanted us to find each other. That makes me feel like she's still part of this, still part of us. Victoria lifted her head to look at him. Then I believe it too, she said. They sat in the quiet apartment holding each other as the night deepened around them. Outside, the city hummed its endless song. Inside, a family slept whole and healed and finally home. Victoria had spent 42 years searching for something she couldn't name. Love, belonging, a reason to stay. She'd found it in the most unexpected place, in a restaurant, with a stranger, through tears and pain and the courage to be honest about her brokenness. She'd found it in Daniel, who'd seen her at her worst and stayed anyway. She'd found it in Emma, who'd taught her what it meant to be a mother. She'd found it in herself, in the version of Victoria who was finally brave enough to let people in. The search was over. She was home. And this time, she was staying forever. Love doesn't always arrive when you're ready. Sometimes it arrives when you're broken. Sometimes it arrives when you've given up. Sometimes it finds you crying in a restaurant, holding a knife, wishing you could disappear. But when it arrives, you have a choice. You can run, or you can stay. Daniel stayed. Victoria stayed. And in staying, they found everything they'd been searching for. Not perfection, not a fairy tale. just each other, just a family. Just love messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. That's the truth about love. It doesn't fix you. It doesn't complete you. It doesn't erase the pain or undo the past. It just makes the future worth living. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's everything.